Regret is the ghost that never stops whispering, but only when it's too late. They will never text you to say, "I regret losing you." Oh no, my friends, regret is never that honest. It hides, lurks, and disguises itself behind forced smiles, fake happiness, and silent suffering. They might pretend they're thriving, but deep down, they're haunted by the one mistake they can never undo. Here's the truth. Regret doesn't show up when you're broken. It shows up when you start glowing. They thought you'd never rise, never heal, never become someone they can't reach. But now, you're the one thing their ego can't handle. A blessing they can't have back. Before we dive in, hit that like button and subscribe, because what I'm about to tell you will change the way you see their silence forever. Stay with me. Hey folks, imagine this. You're walking through a museum, looking at priceless art. You see a painting so rare, so beautiful, but you don't recognize its worth. You shrug, walk past it, and move on to something else. Then years later, you hear about this painting again, but now the world knows it's a masterpiece. The price has skyrocketed, and it's locked away in a private collection. Suddenly you want it. Suddenly you realize what you lost. But it's too late. That's exactly how regret works. When they left, they thought they could replace you. They thought they could find someone better, someone easier. But now they're realizing you were the masterpiece they overlooked. See, when someone truly moves on, they don't stalk. They don't post cryptic messages. They don't accidentally show up at places you go. They don't need to prove anything because they're actually happy. But when someone regrets losing you, their actions will betray them. Their pride might keep them silent, but their behavior will expose the truth. Trust me, my friends, regret is a slow poison. It doesn't hit them all at once. At first, they feel powerful. They think walking away was their best move. They laugh, they party, they act like life is better without you. But that's just the illusion of freedom. Soon enough, reality catches up. They'll see you shining, leveling up, smiling without them. And that's when it hits. That's when the late-night stalking begins. When the old pictures resurface on their phone. When their new happiness starts to feel empty. And the worst part, they'll never admit it. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." And that's exactly what you're doing. You're not begging, you're not chasing, you're not falling into their traps. You're rising in silence. And that, my friends, is the one thing they never expected. Because here's the real secret. Your silence is not weakness, it's power. Every second you stay silent reminds them that they lost something irreplaceable. Every time they check your profile and see you unbothered, they feel a pain they can't even explain. And the more time passes, the more they realize they'll never find another you. So stay strong, stay focused. Let them sit in their regret while you build the life they thought you could never have without them. Their silence isn't strength, it's suffering. Now, I want you to drop this in the comments. They lost me, and they'll never find me twice. Let them regret, let them watch, but never let them reach you again. And if this message hit deep, press that like button, hit subscribe, and stay with me, because we're about to break down the undeniable signs that their regret is eating them alive. Let's get into it. 1. They thought you'd wait forever. The tragedy of life is not that it ends too soon, but that we wait too long to start living. They thought you'd always be there, no matter how they treated you, no matter how many times they ignored you or chose someone else. But here's the truth, my friends. People only believe you'll always wait when they think you don't know your worth. That's exactly what they bet on. They walked away like your love was a revolving door, something they could step out of whenever they wanted, knowing they could always come back. Imagine a bird that's been caged for years. It loves its owner. It trusts them. It sings for them, brings them joy. But the owner takes it for granted, leaving the stage door open, thinking it won't fly away because it's too comfortable. But one day, that bird stops waiting. One day it spreads its wings, feels the wind, and realizes it was never meant to live in a cage. Now the owner panics. Wait, you're not supposed to leave. They reach for the bird, call its name, shake the empty cage, but it's too late. That bird has already tasted freedom, and it will never return. That's you. You were once the one who stayed, forgave, and gave them chance after chance. They took those chances like they were infinite because, in their mind, you weren't supposed to change. You weren't supposed to realize you deserved better. But now, your silence is louder than any words you could ever say. What if I never hear from them again? What if I walk away and they don't even care? What if I was just another option, not something they truly regret losing? That fear, that doubt, is exactly what keeps people stuck in the cycle of waiting. Deep down, you want to believe they'll wake up one day and see your worth. You want to believe they'll realize what they lost before it's too late. But here's what no one tells you. People don't realize your worth when you stay. They realize it when you're gone. And that's what's happening now. At first, they felt powerful. They thought walking away meant they won. They thought their silence meant control. But the truth is, their silence was their biggest mistake. Because now, it's no longer hurting you, it's only haunting them. Seneca once said, "While we wait for life, life passes." And my friends, that's exactly what they thought you'd do. Wait. But you stopped waiting. You stopped crying over closed doors. You stopped looking at your phone, hoping for a message that never came. And that is what's breaking them. Every picture you post, every day you don't text, every time you laugh without them, shatters the illusion they built in their mind, the illusion that said you would never move on. They see you now rising, living, and for the first time, they feel what you once felt, helpless, powerless, replaceable. Oh, that's why it hurts. That's why they stalk you in silence. That's why they hesitate before hitting follow again. Because in their mind, they already lost the battle the moment you stopped fighting for them. But let me tell you something even more powerful. This is just the beginning. They haven't even felt the full weight of their regret yet. That's coming. That's building. And when it finally hits, it will break them in ways they never imagined. Because the hardest lesson they'll ever learn is this. You don't lose someone like you and find them twice. Now I want you to show them, show yourself, show the world around you. Drop this in the comments. I'm not waiting, I'm rising. Let them sit in their silence. Let them wonder. Let them regret. Because up next, I'm going to show you the undeniable proof that their regret is growing by the day, even if they'll never say it out loud. Stay with me. 2. They stalk you in silence. What haunts us is not the words left unsaid, but the things we thought we'd never lose. They'll never text you and admit they regret walking away, but they can't stop watching. Their silence isn't strength. It's a cover-up, a fragile mask for the storm raging inside them. They thought they were in control when they left, thought they had the upper hand. But now, as the days turn into weeks and the weeks into months, something inside them is shifting. They feel it every time they check their phone, every time they open social media, every time they wonder what you're doing without them. They didn't expect this. They didn't expect you to actually move on. Regret doesn't hit all at once. It seeps in slow and steady, like water dripping into the cracks of a foundation until one day everything collapses. At first, they tell themselves they don't care. They go out, laugh too loud, post pictures with people they barely know, trying to convince the world and themselves that life is better without you. But late at night, when the world goes quiet and there's no audience to perform for, that's when reality creeps in. That's when they open their phone, type your name into the search bar, and scroll. They don't like your posts, don't leave a comment, don't dare to show up in your notifications, but they're there, watching, wondering, regretting. They'll never admit it, but every picture you post feels like a punch to the gut. They stare at your smile, your glow, the way you look unbothered, and it eats them alive because in their mind, you weren't supposed to be okay. You weren't supposed to thrive without them. They thought your happiness depended on their presence, that your world would crumble the moment they walked away. But now they're realizing the truth. They were never your source of happiness, and that realization is tearing them apart. They check your profile, but never from their main account. Oh no, that would be too obvious. Instead, they lurk from a fake page or ask mutual friends for updates, dropping your name casually as if it doesn't matter, as if they're just curious. They act indifferent, but their actions scream the opposite. Because people who have moved on don't check your every move. People who don't care don't need to know what you're doing. But they do. They need to know if you're missing them, if you're hurting, if they still have a place in your heart. What's driving them mad is the answer they never expected. You don't. They tell themselves they're just checking in, that it's harmless curiosity. But the truth is, they're addicted to the version of you they thought would always be there. Addicted to the idea that maybe, just maybe, they could still come back if they wanted to. But every time they see you thriving, every time they realize you're not looking back, regret gets louder. Seneca once said, "While we are postponing, life speeds by." And that's exactly what's happening here. While they sit in silence, debating whether to reach out, life is moving forward without them, and they hate it. Their silence is a prison of their own making. They want to reach out, but their pride won't let them. They want to say something, anything, but they don't know how to undo what's already been done. So they suffer in the only way their ego allows. In the shadows, watching, pretending, regretting. They think staying silent gives them control. But in reality, it's proving how powerless they've become. Because the moment someone has to stalk your life instead of being a part of it, they've already lost. And you're proving something they never thought possible. You don't need them. Your life didn't end when they walked away. If anything, you've become more without them. And now, every time they check your profile, they're forced to confront the truth they tried to escape. You were the best thing that ever happened to them, and they let you go. Let them stalk, let them wonder, let them regret, because their silence speaks louder than any apology ever could. And while they're stuck in the past, you're moving toward a future that no longer includes them. Now I want you to prove it to them, to yourself, to the world around you. Drop this in the comments. My silence speaks louder than their words. Let them feel it. Let them sit with it. And stay with me, because up next we're diving even deeper into the ways their regret is growing stronger by the day, even if they'll never say it out loud. 3. They post fake happiness. The saddest smiles are the ones meant to prove something. They'll never text you and say, "I regret losing you." They'll never call and admit they made a mistake. But what they will do is try to convince the world and themselves that they're happier without you. And how do they do that? By putting on a performance, by posting their new exciting life all over social media, smiling through the pain, faking a glow that doesn't exist. But if you look closely, my friends, you'll see the cracks in their mask. Because true happiness doesn't need validation. And if they were really over you, they wouldn't need to prove it. At first, they think they're winning. They go out more, party harder, surround themselves with distractions. They post pictures with people they barely know, fake laughter in videos, and suddenly become so active online. But why? If they were truly happy, they wouldn't feel the need to document it. They wouldn't need an audience. They wouldn't need you to see it. Free it. Because real happiness is silent. It's effortless. But their happiness is forced, manufactured, a desperate attempt to convince themselves that they don't miss you. Imagine an actor on stage, playing a role. The bright lights, the big smile, the carefully scripted lines. The audience sees confidence, charm, energy, but the moment the curtains close and the stage goes dark, that actor walks home alone, exhausted, drained, and empty. That's them. The moment they put their phone down, the moment the fake smile fades, they're left with nothing but the weight of their own regret. And no matter how hard they try to drown it out, regret has a way of creeping back in during the quiet moments, the moments when there's no one left to impress. They'll post pictures with someone new, hoping it makes you jealous. They'll share cryptic captions about outgrowing the past, trying to convince themselves that leaving you was a good decision. But deep down, they know it's all for show. Because if they were really over it, they wouldn't need to send signals. They wouldn't need to perform. Psychology says people who move on rarely feel the need to announce it. The ones who haven't make sure you see every move they make. You might find yourself wondering, what if they really are happier? What if they really don't miss me? That fear, my friends, is exactly why they do this. They want to plant doubt in your mind. They want you to second-guess your decision to walk away. They want you to think maybe they never cared at all. But here's the truth. People don't fake happiness unless they have something to hide. People who are truly happy don't need validation. They don't need to prove anything. And most importantly, they don't spend their time trying to make sure you see it. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that's exactly what's happening here. They're trying to create an illusion, trying to rewrite the story so they don't have to face the truth. But illusions fade. Reality, however, is unforgiving. Eventually, they'll have to sit with it, because one day the distractions won't be enough. The parties will feel empty, and the new people won't be replacements. They'll just be reminders of what they lost. When that day comes, all the likes, the comments, the fake smiles, they won't mean a damn thing. Because happiness isn't found in a post, a caption, or a rebound. It's found in peace, and peace is the one thing they don't have. You don't need to prove anything. You don't need to watch their stories, overanalyze their posts, or wonder if they're really happy. Because their actions tell you everything you need to know. If someone has to put on a show, it's because the truth isn't good enough. So let them post, let them pretend, let them convince themselves they made the right choice. Because while they're busy performing, you're actually healing. You're actually growing. Gee. And one day, when the act is over and the regret finally hits, they'll realize they weren't proving anything to you. They were just lying to themselves. Now I want you to prove it to them, to yourself, to the world around you. Drop this in the comments. I don't need to prove my happiness. I live it. Let them see it. Let them feel it. And stay with me, because up next, we're exposing the undeniable signs that their regret is growing stronger by the day, even if they'll never admit it. 4. They post indirect messages and songs. The loudest cries for help are the ones disguised as silence. They'll never say, "I miss you." They'll never admit, "I regret losing you." Their pride won't allow it, but that doesn't mean they're not feeling it. Oh, they're feeling it, and it's eating them alive. Because they can't bring themselves to say it outright, they do the next best thing. They leave breadcrumbs. They post cryptic messages, sad lyrics, old songs, hoping you'll get the hint, hoping you'll read between the lines, hoping you'll be the one to break the silence so they don't have to. At first, you might not even notice it. Maybe a random quote about losing something you didn't appreciate until it was gone, a song you both used to listen to, or a caption about regrets or timing. But then it happens again and again, and suddenly you start wondering, is this about me? That's exactly what they want. They want to plant a seed of doubt, make you question whether they've truly moved on or if they're secretly suffering in silence. And the answer, they are suffering. Because people who are genuinely happy don't leave clues. They don't need to send signals. They don't need to make sure you're still watching. Imagine a person stranded in the middle of the ocean. No phone, no way to call for help. All they have are pieces of driftwood floating around them. So what do? They start throwing them one by one, hoping someone, somewhere will see the ripples in the water, hoping someone will notice. That's exactly what these indirect posts are. Desperate signals, silent distress calls. Because they want you to see, but they don't want to be the one to reach out first. You might find yourself tempted to reply, tempted to send a message, tempted to ask, is this about me? That's exactly what they're hoping for, because the moment you engage, they win. The moment you ask, are you okay? They get to shift the power back in their favor. They get to pretend, oh no, that wasn't about you, even though you both know it was. Now let me tell you something. You owe them nothing. You owe them nothing. You owe them no reaction, no acknowledgement, no validation of their regret. Because the truth is, they had their chance to talk to you directly. They had their chance to love you, appreciate you, and fight for you. And instead of doing that, they walked away. Now they're throwing signals into the void, hoping you'll be the one to break first. Seneca once said, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. And that applies here. Their ego is waiting for you to slip. They're hoping the silence becomes too much for you to handle. But what they don't realize is that you're not waiting anymore. You're not playing their game. You see the clues, you recognize the patterns, but instead of chasing them, you let them drown in their own unspoken regret. Here's the harsh reality. They won't stop. They'll keep posting, keep hoping, keep trying to trigger you, to make you feel something, to make you believe they've changed. But here's what you need to remember. If they truly regretted losing you, They wouldn't be posting cryptic messages. They would be standing in front of you, saying, "I was wrong." But they won't do that because their ego won't allow it. Admitting they regret losing you means admitting they were wrong about you. And that's a truth they're not ready to face. So instead, they play these games hoping to manipulate your emotions without ever having to risk their pride. Seneca once said, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." And that's exactly what's happening to them. They're suffering in advance, suffering over the thought that maybe, just maybe, they lost you for good. Instead of facing it, they're scrambling, trying to regain even the smallest sense of power. But here's the best part. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to react. You don't have to message. You don't have to give them even a second of your energy. Because the moment you don't respond, the moment you don't play along, that's when their regret truly sets in. That's when they realize you're not coming back. Let them unfollow. Let them refollow. Let them block and unblock again. Because with every desperate move, they're not showing strength. They're showing weakness. They're showing that while you're out there living, they're still stuck in the past, trying to figure out how to make you notice them again. And you're proving something even more powerful. You don't notice games, you notice peace, and that's something they'll never be able to fake. Now I want you to prove it to them, to yourself, to the world around you. Drop this in the comments. I don't chase confusion, I choose clarity. Let them see it. Let them see it. Let them feel it. And stay with me, because up next we're diving into the next undeniable sign of their regret. The way they start showing up in places you never expected. But by then, you'll already be too far ahead. 5. They try to accidentally cross paths with you. Coincidences don't exist when regret is involved. They'll never text you and admit they miss you. They'll never call and say, "I made a mistake." But what they will do is put themselves right in your path, hoping you notice them without them having to say a word. Suddenly, they're at your favorite coffee shop. Suddenly, they're showing up at the gym you've always gone to. Suddenly, they're at that mutual friend's party, acting like it's just a coincidence. But you and I both know the truth. This isn't chance. This is strategy. They didn't just wake up one day and decide to change their entire routine. They didn't just suddenly develop a craving for the cafe they ignored. When you used to invite them, they didn't magically start going to the same bookstore, gym, or bar where they know they might run into you. They're putting themselves in your world because they can't stand being out of it. They don't have the courage to text, so they do the next best thing, make you see them, make you feel their presence, make you wonder, and for a moment, it might work. You might see them, your heart might skip a beat, your mind might whisper, "Was this really an accident?" That's exactly what they want. They want to plant doubt in your mind. They want you to start overthinking, to start believing that maybe the universe is pulling you back together. But here's what you need to remember. The universe isn't doing this. Their regret is. Imagine someone throwing pebbles at a window, hoping the person inside will look up. They don't want to knock on the door because that would require vulnerability. That would require admitting they're outside in the cold, looking in. So instead, they settle for small, indirect ways of getting attention, hoping you'll be the one to open the door first. That's exactly what this is. Every accidental run in, every random appearance in your space is nothing more than a silent knock, a desperate attempt to be noticed without having to admit they're desperate. But here's the truth, my friend. If they really wanted to come back, they wouldn't be lingering in the background, hoping you'd make the first move. They wouldn't be circling your world like a lost planet, hoping for gravity to pull them back in. They would step up, say the words, face the silence they created, and take responsibility for it. But they don't because their pride still has them shackled. Seneca once said, "Fate leads the willing and drags along the reluctant." And that's what's happening here. They want to be led back to you, but they don't have the courage to take the first step. So instead, they try to manipulate fate. They try to engineer moments, hoping you'll be the one to say something first. They want to be saved from their own regret without ever having to admit they regret anything at all. And this is where most people make a mistake. They see their ex suddenly showing up everywhere and think, maybe this means something. Maybe this is a sign. But it's not a sign from the universe. It's a sign of their fear. Fear that you've moved on. Fear that you're slipping further and further away. Fear that you don't even think about them anymore. And that fear is the very thing keeping them stuck. Because you're not stuck. You're not waiting. You're not looking for coincidences to validate your worth. You already know your worth. That's why you don't fall for these games. That's why when they show up, trying to act casual, trying to act like seeing you was just fate, you smile, you walk away, and you remind them you are no longer the person they once knew. They thought you'd always run to them. Now they're the ones chasing ghosts. They thought you'd always be available. Now they're the ones lingering in the background, hoping for breadcrumbs. And the saddest part, they'll never admit it. They'll keep pretending, keep manufacturing moments, keep hoping for a reaction. But you don't need to play along. You don't need to play along. Let them be haunted by your absence. Let them wonder if you even notice them at all. Let them drown in the realization that they are now just a stranger in a world they once belonged to. Now I want you to prove it to them, to yourself, to the world around you. Drop this in the comments. I don't believe in coincidences. I believe in moving forward. Let them feel it. Let them sit with it and stay with me. Because up next, we're exposing the final undeniable sign that their regret is eating them alive, even if they'll never say it out loud. 6. Mutual friends start mentioning them. When people can't reach you, they send others in their place. They'll never text you and admit, "I miss you." They'll never say, "I regret losing you." But you know what they will do. They'll find a way to make sure their name ends up in your ears one way or another. And how do they do that? Mutual friends. Out of nowhere, people you haven't heard from in weeks or even months start bringing them up in conversation. Asked how you were. Or maybe it's even more subtle. You know they've been acting different lately. I think they're not as happy as they seem. Suddenly, their name is back in your world. Their presence is creeping back into your mind. And whether you like it or not, you start wondering, are they regretting it? Ooh. Do they miss me? That's exactly what they want. See, if they truly moved on, if they were really at peace with losing you, they wouldn't need updates. They wouldn't need to ask around. They wouldn't need to check up on you through second-hand sources. But here's the thing about regret. It doesn't like to suffer in silence. It needs information. It needs proof. It needs to know if you've truly moved on or if there's still a chance. no matter how small. And because they're too proud, too afraid, too stubborn to ask you directly, they send out signals in the only way they can, through the people who still exist in both your worlds. Imagine a soldier sending a scout into enemy territory. They don't want to risk stepping onto the battlefield themselves, so instead they send someone else to gather information. That's exactly what's happening here. They're not ready to face the reality of your silence, but they need to know if you're still thinking about them, if you still care, and if they still have a place in your mind. And this is where most people fall into the trap. They hear their name, they hear they've been asking about you, and they start thinking, maybe this is my chance. Maybe I should reach out, but let me stop you right there. Because if they truly wanted to reach out, they would. If they truly regretted it, they wouldn't be sending scouts. They'd be standing in front of you, owning up to their mistakes. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." And that's what they're doing. This isn't about concern, and it sure as hell isn't about closure. This is about control. Because if they know you're still thinking about them, if they know their name still holds weight in your world, they don't have to face the full weight of their regret. They can convince themselves that maybe, just maybe, they still matter. But you don't play those games anymore. You don't waste your time decoding second-hand messages, trying to read between the lines of what a friend of a friend says. Because your life isn't a puzzle for them to solve. So let them ask, let them wonder, let them send out their little messengers, hoping to get a reaction. And when the mutual friends come to you with, "Hey, they've been asking about you," just smile and say, "That's funny. I haven't thought about them at all." Because that will send a message louder than anything they've tried to orchestrate. That will make them realize their regret is theirs to carry, not yours to acknowledge. They thought they could keep you as an option, thought they could leave and still have access to your energy. But now, they're learning the hardest lesson of all. You don't lose someone like you and get another chance. Now I want you to prove it to them, to yourself, to the world around you. Drop this in the comments. If they have to ask about me, they've already lost me. Let them feel it. Let them sit with it. And stay with me, because up next, we're diving into the final, most painful sign of their regret. The moment they realize they will suffer in silence forever. And by then, you'll already be too far ahead to even notice.